The Alternox Prime can shock my nipples any day. The Alternox was a weapon when it came out, and that really hasn't changed, unfortunately. This weapon has multiplicative condition overload on its galvanized aptitude stacks, infinite body punch through, and a very good status chance. All those things sound really good, but slap it on a weapon with some pretty low base damage, some long reload times, lower end fire rate, and only one status baseline, and you get a very mediocre weapon. This weapon, as with all multi-co weapons, can be hard carried by status buffs from frames, and really benefits from debilitate for additional statuses. Thus, the background footage is using Saren to bump up the amount of statuses we are applying. The alternate fire is weird, and in my opinion not worth using since the main fire just does that much more damage. Is the weapon bad? Yeah, it's not great. And to really take advantage of the weapon, you will need a weapons platform that makes weapons strong like Saren. But the weapon is shockingly cool, so it's worthwhile. Arcane Circumcision is busted. This arcane is a fit-all arcane that works for nearly every build in the game, and it will gain popularity in a few months. This arcane says, roll through enemies to steal 50% of their defenses for yourself. Stolen armor lasts 15 seconds. Essentially, this arcane is an armor strip and shield gate with the ability to gain overguard and up to 1,000 armor. This arcane is pillage, secondary fortifier, and arcane guardian all in one at the cost of a single arcane slot. This arcane got me acting up. I'm gonna end up rolling straight onto a cock if I'm not careful. So you want Vanguard relics, but don't have the Aya to shove inside your butt? Well, Aya farming has a few things going on right now, so let me explain. Even after the bounty nerf for Cetus bounties, they are still the best for it. Head to the plane to look for this objective here. It has a high chance of having a capture the Grenier bounty and only one hold and wait objective in its pool of bounties, meaning it's far more consistent than the others, being able to complete a full 6 objectives in between 2 minutes and 8 minutes on average. A few other options in order from best to worst: Necrolisk bounties, Hepit and Uko capture speedrunning, and 1999 Zeramin and Sanctum and Atomica bounty speedrunning. You can also get them infrequently from relic packs, so farming reputation and trading for relic packs is also a great way to get a few here and there. Horse Lady needs a horse-sized cock, if you know what I mean. Dagoth has some really horrific descriptions on her abilities, and I'm sorry to say, but I was entirely wrong about her. Dagoth has about 67 million features in her kit that are just not written properly. Let's give a few examples. While Grave Spirit is active, every kill generates a health orb. Doom affects both weapons and abilities, so nuking with her is not just an option, but extremely powerful. Her passive is an additive 300% bonus to health and energy orbs after Archon shards, which doesn't affect the equilibrium conversion. And Doom does true damage, bypassing all armor and reductions, while also being increased by the viral damage multiplier. Overall, this horse fucker is not confusing once you head to the wiki, but damn does she need some updated tooltips. The Descendia farm is back until the 18th. Do your full Descendia on normal, then when you are ready to farm, head to Leon at floor 14. The floor you are looking to get to is floor 20. This is slightly worse than the first time around, but still insanely overkill. Bring Zaku or another box breaking frame, and the pole subsume with the gritty pole augment if you can fit it, and then go all the way to the bottom. Make sure you wait a few moments before breaking all of the boxes on each floor, as it seems the loot disappears if you break them too quickly. Elite Archimedia is really taking it out on you, huh? There are a few things you can do to get back at them for being such assholes. Your companion is a constant. Bringing one that can keep you alive is a must, especially if you don't have a frame that will do so for you. Something like Worm with Negate, Taxon with Guardian, or Raxakubro will help you shield gate during those tough missions. If you don't have Gear Embargo as a negative, bringing out your Spectres and Arc Gun Launcher are really powerful effects and can hard carry a run. And if you don't have the removed Operator, bringing something like Vazarin will allow you to bring Protective Sling to give yourself 5 seconds of immunity anytime you sling through your frame. Last, but certainly not least, if you don't mind all the negative effects, bringing a Warframe with an exalted weapon like Excalibur, Titania, Gara, or most definitely Hildren is a huge perk. If you have any more suggestions, put them in the comments and I'll lick you. Secondary Cucumber is worse than you think. Let me explain. This arcane states, on status effect, plus 24% chance to trigger a second random status effect. It is great for condition overload effects like Galvanized Shot or even as a secondary primer, but it's got a small catch. The statuses only get applied per instance of time. What the fuck does that mean? Well, essentially, the game ticks at a certain rate, and this arcane can only trigger once during that entire instance of time. Think of it like this. You trigger a status effect when Encumber applies a second one, but during that same instance, you hit the target 4 more times because of multi-shot. Those 4 additional multi-shot hits cannot trigger secondary encumber again. Multi-shot can help re-roll the arcane effects so that it is more consistent to trigger per game instance, but they will not bypass the limit. Weird, huh? Flat armor sources deserve love too. With the addition of arcane persistence, I felt the need to talk about flat armor sources like health conversion, armor archon shards, and guardian. Archon shards are generally balanced, with each one being roughly half a mon in value, but armor shards are a lot more than that in a lot of cases. Let's look at Ureli Prime and Uriel. Both of these frames have a base armor value of just 105, the single lowest in the entire game. Adding 1 Tau armor shard will add in 225 armor, more than tripling their base armor values, doubling what steel fiber alone can give them. With all that said, you can raise the armor value of these low armor frames to incredibly high values really easily. Adding in Arcane Guardian and Reaper, 5 Tau armor Archon shards, and health conversion puts Uriel and Ureli Prime at a cool and calm 4,140 armor, or 93.24% damage reduction. I'm gonna Higa suck your nuts. This is a weapon that sorta sucks. Despite having an augment that gives it 450% damage and a couple extra statuses on its alt fire, we can force the weapon to work on frames like Gus and Saren, of course. But on its own legs, this weapon barely stands. It has alright critical chance and damage stats, nothing too extraordinary, and its status is on the lower end. And on top of all of this, its base damage is incredibly low. But the Higasa does have one feature with Zada's Whisper that you need to see. When you fire into void status enemies, the projectiles slow down, but have infinite duration. Then they float aimlessly, infinitely, until they hit a wall or hit our punch-through cap. Beautiful, isn't it? Almost romantic. Muscle Mommy can crush me between her thighs any day. Hildren is a frame that is insanely powerful right now, sporting near unkillable survivability, mass AoE nuking, and armor stripping, all without a subsume. But she wasn't always like this. Ever since Kome and the Five Fates, Hildren has been buffed by the new items of the last few major patches quite significantly. In Kome and the Five Fates, she received arguably the best augment mod she could possibly ask for, Aegiscale. Then, in 1999, she gained Enervate onto her Balefire chargers, an arcane that is worth, what? It's worth like 20 mods worth of space, and most recently in the old piece, she's gained the extremely powerful Arcane Expertise, giving her more damage and survivability for building offensively. Muscle Mama really has been getting more and more buff, and I'm here for it. You wanna bang so many enemies your drifter gets hot? I made a short recently that went over my preferred operator build for general content, and I stick by that build as comfortable and capable. But let me show you a really funny one that allows you to solo Steel Path with just your drifter. For Arcanes, we use Eternal Onslaught and Logistics for critical chance and amp efficiency. Then we run Mage's Melt for heat damage onto our amp. For mods, we use Omnevi, Hayan Dabor, Vikla Safor, Ubri Kanef, and Tal Sucks Hand, with our Tyron Arcane being Zidan Cockblock. With this setup, after slinging once, you can just hold your alt fire for your amp and fire it near infinitely as long as you sling once every 8 seconds. Bring your favorite amp with the pod scaffold and go to town. Ride as many enemies as you'd like. Is that a rocket in your pocket? Or is that a rocket hammer? The Jatka tag has some secrets that make it a lot stronger than you may think. It has an augment called Vulcan Blitz that is essentially the same thing as Sobek's Acid Shell's augment, but smaller area of effect. Many of you already know that, but did you know that this slam hammer has a 100% base moddable status chance on its heavy slam? You heard that right. Adding 60% status chance from a mod, 160% status chance. That means you can mod for something like melee influence or afflictions and get guaranteed status effects. Its riven disposition is also 1.35 times, which is incredibly high for this powerful weapon. Oh, and did you know that Vulcan Blitz triggers off of melee influence, causing some wild cascading damage to happen? Kestrel Prime. This glaive is strange. On paper, it should suck. Its explosion is the smallest of all of the glaives, at just 3.6 meters. Its forced status on explosion is Impact, arguably the worst status in the game. It throws enemies around when it hits them, making them less grouped up for effects like melee influence or the heavy explosion. Its heavy slam is raw magnetic, and it doesn't have good homing for its unique trait of 8 bounces. However, it does have the highest base status chance of any glaive in the game, making it a prime candidate for a bounce influence build, which, surprisingly, or unsurprisingly to some, makes it actually a decent melee weapon. Turns out, glaives are just good in general. Lashed Attack? More like, why the hell is this in the game? This mod came out with the old Peace update, and Wow. It reads, Void Sling emits a pulse that breaks containers within 12 meters, plus 2 bonus meters for each mod from a unique school. Currently, this has line of sight checks, fails to break boxes even in line of sight sometimes. The pulse moves really slow, and I'm fairly certain the additive range is bugged. There's currently no reason to use this. Bringing Mage's Cloud alone puts your sling radius to 8 meters, and that breaks crates too. Better yet, just use Top Hat Boy or actual real skeleton to slap box ass. Grandmother decided we are poor. Yippee! In the old peace update, Digital Extremes reduced the required grandmother tokens we needed for Surrey glass shards from 20 to 10, as well as they increased the amount of standing that handing in each token gives. Daughter, father, and Otak tokens went from 100 to 500 standing, son tokens went from 500 to 1000, and grandmother tokens went from 1500 to 3000. All of these changes means that farming family reputation is easier than ever, as well as crafting the base Trumna and Quasis, as well as the Sepulchrum. Though, it does mean that you'll likely talk to mommy less than before. Is melee influence broken in Warframe? Well, no, but yes, let me explain. Melee influence is an arcane that came out on December 13th, 2023 in the Whispers in the Walls update. It was in the first round of melee arcanes in an effort to make them stronger, but influence stood out amongst the rest. Why is that? Its effect, similar to melee vortex, was doing something that other arcanes and mods simply could not bring to the table for melee weapons. Area of effect. Room clearing with a melee was now possible, and to this day it is considered the strongest melee arcane still. Is it broken? No. When comparing to other options, primary, secondary, or even Warframe nuking, melee influence builds don't really get to the level of kills as those across the board without help. Is it broken when compared to melees? You bet your ass it is. What we need isn't a melee influence nerf, but rather more options that do something similar in a fun way. Leave your comment on what new arcane you think should be added to the melee roster. Oh, and subscribe, or I'll stop fucking your mom. Do you remember Maiming Strike? Maiming Strike. Maiming Strike is a mod that came out in January 25th, 2016 for the event called Operation Shadow Debt, and was originally a drop from Acolytes during said event. This mod used to add 90% added critical chance to your slide attacks, similar to Avenger, but the old Blood Rush used to multiply with these flat critical effects, causing you to, after just 2.0 combo, red crit with ease. This mod used to be used with the Adarax, a weapon with very high slash, range, and critical damage, along with primed reach, giving 165% range instead of the +3 today. We were able to hit nearly 15 meters with any slide attack, ignoring walls. This, and Neramon used to have a passive that, when you landed a critical strike with a melee weapon, you would go invisible for a short time. There was a lot of backlash as this gameplay was quite repetitive and getting old, and so in October 31st, 2019, this effect was changed, and the Maiming Strike meta was killed off. This literally made me come on stream. New players have had it better than ever the last few updates. Digital Extremes has the philosophy that with every major update they release, they'll also improve the new player experience, with the last few updates being major improvements in my eyes. Let's go over them. Back in the Isle Weaver update, the Arcwing Launcher segment for open worlds is now just unlocked for free, no cost, no blueprint. The Junction quests now give important mods for early game players, including the Europa Junction giving Animal Instinct. The Teacher quest has introduced players to modding better than before, and while not perfect, is a great initial step into the system while also unlocking genuinely a very strong early game gun for new players to use. Now they just need to add in a good secondary weapon for new players to rail each other with. Primary Overcharge, is quite the fun arcane. This arcane came from the old Peace update. It reads, while at or above 90% energy, gain 35% of your max energy as multi-shot, capped at 350%. Essentially, you can cap this arcane with 1000 energy for 350% multi-shot, but in a lot of cases, it's still worth running at around half effectiveness. Around 500 energy will do. This can make already good status weapons like the Kuvacomb, the Strun Prime, hell, even the Latron Prime really silly. There may be other options that beat this arcane, but who doesn't want to fire 21.9 projectiles every single shot from the Latron Wraith and lag out your own PC and likely crashing others? Prepare your butthole. Preparation is a mod that many people keep at rank 8 and not rank 10. But why is that? This mod increases your maximum energy filled when you begin missions, and at rank 8 will fill 82% of your bar. But something you need to keep in mind is your energy bar is already partially filled when you start a mission. With a rank 8 preparation, by Titania here, with 755 max energy, starts with 755.2 energy, entirely filling my titty's entire bar without ever needing to max this mod. Okay, I know my jokes are bad, but subscribe. I'm gonna rumble your jack. This subtle poke stick is a weapon, admittedly, I wrote off for a long time, but I'm here to right those wrongs. This free dagger comes with a catalyst installed when you complete the new war. That, and it has electricity as a base element. Already off to a good start, considering melee influence loves that shit. But what if I told you that the slam was only electricity at a 40% status chance? No impact, puncture, or slash here, only electricity. That means if we bump the status chance up, we can guarantee an electric status effect on heavy slam. With this information, we have two options. Melee afflictions is suggested as it will boost the power of this weapon immensely. Once you get a good full build together, melee influence will eventually overpower it. Here is the build being used in the background, getting 100 kills per minute in the highest base level Steel Path mission. Have you ever wanted to crit an enemy so hard their butthole inverts? Since the 1999 update, Secondary Enervate has been one of the best secondary arcanes in the game, sporting 10% more crit strike chance additive per hit until 6 big critical strikes. This arcane is insanely overstated. On any weapon below 25% crit chance, this is likely the best arcane. Let's compare. On a weapon with 10% crit chance, Creeping Bullseye is going to add in 20% more crit chance to the weapon. Pretty good, right? On average, Enervate will add in at least 90% flat critical chance, with most fast-firing weapons capable of hitting roughly 160% average or more. This is the equivalent of 1,600% critical chance, or 8 total Creeping Bullseyes worth of mods. Secondary Friends with Benefits is terrible. Secondary Kinship released in update 32.3, Citrine's Last Wish, on February 15th, 2023. It reads, while buffing ally warframes, plus 20% critical chance per buff. Buffing yourself works for this effect, but it stacks additively with other critical chance buffs like Pistol Gambit. This arcane may have had a small use when it came out, with Octavia able to hit 24 stacks of this arcane, with every single person in the squad getting all of her buffs. But Secondary Enervate has just entirely outclassed it in almost every single aspect. Seriously, have you ever seen anyone actually using this? On top of all of this, the farm for this arcane is Citrine's mirror defense mission, Tiana Pass. So you want to know what to put into your drifter, right? No, not like that. Here's what I've been using for my operator/drifter that allows me to just shred every enemy in the game. My preferred amp is a 547. This refers to this sheet here, but essentially it is a 3-round burst laser, a homing glaive, and then the highest critical amp. This part basically never changes. Then my arcanes and mods are Eternal Eradicate and Eternal Onslaught, and the Tower 1 build I use is Omnevi for critical chance and damage, Hayan Dabor for amp multi-shot, Haktua for a 3x bonus multiplier on your next amp attack after using Void mode, Vel Ika for more Void Sling distance, and Tal Suxhan for a form of knockdown immunity, with the arcane of choice being Zidane Cusco for the extra heat damage for secondaries on operator kill. The mighty Sheev. This little dagger is shit. Or is it? Sheev has some not so great stats and some really low range, boasting 13% critical chance and 2.1 times critical multiplier. The status chance being 25% and the heavy slam being only heat damage makes it have a very interesting option. Melee Affliction Slam, for some reason I, and a lot of others, overlooked many weapons with raw status on their slam, the Sheev being one of them. This thing slams, triggers afflictions, then heat will tick for over 2.5 million damage an instance, all with the little pussy dagger. Damn. If only I could smash someone as hard as this hammer. The Onairu ultimate is pretty cool and genuinely looks awesome, though its effects are a bit lackluster in comparison to the other options. Its damage is genuinely really good, having arguably the largest area of effect of all of the ultimates, as well as allowing you to slam a few times for additional effects. Rowan's Cox bonus effects are that it creates 5 armor motes that stack for 450 temporary armor for a total of 2,250 armor, and every shockwave generates 5 pickups, which are either universal orbs or ammo. This isn't amazing, but there is one major upside. The armor motes have the exact same effect as health conversion, so if you do not take health damage, they never go away. This means that you can guarantee to max out primary bulwark permanently without adding any mods to your build. The Vinkwibusi is wicked. This weapon is Uriel's signature, and it is very unique. It fills both the melee and the primary slot, and can be modded separately for both. The primary is a single-shot rifle with a unique trait that makes the melee do more damage after getting headshots, and the melee is a puncture-based weapon with a unique trait that gives the primary ammo efficiency on kill. Polarizing the slots on either the primary or the melee will also polarize the slots for the opposite version, meaning Omniforma are likely the play for this one. This weapon is very strong in both its primary and melee have weaknesses that are opposite from each other that help cover itself for said weaknesses. The primary is very single target focused, wanting headshot multipliers and raw single target damage, as well as the melee is better for area of effect or melee dilly-dally. That being said, I have one gripe with this weapon. Why make the reload so satisfying for the primary, but if you use the weapon's unique effects properly, you never actually reload? Why do people hate the hot top hat man? Limbo has had a rocky history of being a frame that can easily fuck people. He has been changed or adjusted in so many ways to accommodate teammates that I can't even name them all. Why is that? It all has to do with his Rift. Rift puts targets into a different plane of existence, where the two sides cannot interact, aside from a few abilities here and there, as well as some effects like melee influence. If a Limbo player puts a new player into the Rift, that player may not know what is happening, even if it is beneficial. That, and a lack of visual identity for when you are in the Rift, or when enemies are in the Rift, causes players to be off-put by the man with a penis so large that he mathed himself out of existence. Why is Mage's Cloud so good? This operator arcane states, on Void mode, plus 300% Void Sling Radius for 6 seconds. Sounds very simple, but why is Sling Radius so important? Typically, people use this for Void Cascade, for breaking the Void Tears, but it has another use. When you sling through enemies, you regenerate your operator's energy, allowing you to sling more often. This is great for traveling from place to place, as well as knocking enemies down to finish them or ride them wild style like some kind of slut.